Hey, beautiful souls, and welcome back to another session of The Sanctuary. This is our space for reflection, growth, and connection. I'm your girl and guide, Mariah Miles, licensed therapist, ordained minister, and overall creative. And I am so very delighted to have you join me for another exploration in this month's theme of presence. In today's session, we're going to dive into the essence of healing and how it intersects with the collective consciousness of our time, especially through the lens of our younger generations. We're going to discuss how not only are teens today navigating their emotional landscapes in a world that constantly is connected, but how their journeys may be healing not just themselves, but also the generations that came before them. And to help us ground in the present moment, we have a beautiful somatic practice that can be found in my prompted journal, Busy Minds, Peaceful Hearts. And I do have some news about that. There's going to be a re-release, and it'll be condensed into 52 weeks. So a little bit smaller for you, but I'll definitely keep you posted. All right, it's that time, y'all. Sit back, relax. It's time to tune in. The essence of healing, and as a therapist, I've come to realize that healing is so very personal. It transcends all credentials, all licenses, all certificates, right? Because it's about grappling with our experiences and embracing the work that we do on ourselves. Because healing starts with awareness of our own stories first. Because each of us carries our own narratives filled with challenges that really shape our perspectives. And these experiences can teach us about resilience and vulnerability. And they can be powerful catalysts for our growth. You know, I've been having this thought that feels really interesting to me, but healing isn't just about fixing what's broken. That's not original. But it's about uncovering our authentic selves, often hidden beneath the layers of fear and expectation. It's this journey of self-discovery where we learn to embrace not just our strengths, but our insecurities. And I think it's that in this context, right, where mindfulness becomes our ally. It helps us notice the subtle shifts within us, those moments when we feel connected or disconnected. This heightened awareness that allows us to navigate our emotions with greater ease and compassion. Because we know that healing is not a solitary endeavor. And if we don't know, here's the reminder. It's not meant to be done alone. Each of us has this potential to be a healer in our own right. No, scratch that. Each of us are our own healers. When we share our stories, when we create spaces for others to connect, when we reflect, and when we heal alongside us, or let them heal alongside us. The act of being present for one another, it can be so very transformative. Something about allowing other people to see us in our vulnerability. Or maybe even this idea of being witnessed, validating what our experience is. I've been also really thinking about this idea of legacy. This pursuit of leaving a mark on the world that can sometimes stem from our ego, our fear of being forgotten. But what if our true legacy is really in the connections that we nurture in the present moment? When we prioritize presence over perfection, maybe we might start to build a legacy that's rooted in love or empathy or understanding, or how about them all? Because this is where the real impact happens, through the relationships that we cultivate, the kindness that we share. Then healing is a collective journey about intertwining our stories with those of others, creating this really interwoven, rich, shared experience, right? Like a tapestry. And each thread, it just contributes to the greater whole, reminding us that we're never truly alone. Not in our struggles, we're not. And for me, I feel like not ever. I've been sitting with this concept of the hive mind, especially in relation to spirituality. And to be honest, the other day I was talking to a friend and I was like, I think I have an idea of what my dissertation would be on if I decided to go back and get my PhD. And now I'm sharing it with you. And I think it's like a whisper of inspiration. So as long as I'm sharing it or giving it the energy it needs, I feel like I've completed the inspiration. And if it's something that resonates with you, you won't write it like me and I won't write it like you. But the hive mind represents a collective consciousness. It's where individual thoughts and emotions can converge into this shared understanding. And this idea resonates with so many spiritual teachings that really emphasize our interconnectedness. And one of the most beautiful aspects of this collective experience is how it can foster collective healing. When individuals embark on their spiritual journeys, their growth can resonate throughout the community, right? Because it's creating this wave of maybe empathy or compassion. And it's almost as if each person's healing can contribute to the larger whole. And it creates a more in-depth, more dynamic experience for everyone involved. But in our digital age, technology amplifies this phenomenon. It allows us to share spiritual insights and practices almost instantaneously, this podcast included. We can access a wealth of wisdom from around the globe, which can significantly enhance our collective spiritual growth. Yet, I also want to consider the flip side of this, because the hive mind can lead to this rapid spread of spiritual trends that may not resonate with our authentic selves. And I think this raises an important question. Are we embracing practices that reflect our true beliefs? Or are we simply following the latest trends? And this is where mindfulness and presence come into play. At least that's my belief. Because by cultivating these practices, we learn to discern between our authentic feelings and those shaped by external influences. it's a journey of self-discovery where we can navigate the collective narratives without losing our individuality. And the hive mind also emphasizes community and support. It fosters connections among individuals on similar spiritual paths that allow for shared practices, group meditations, and collective rituals that enhance our experiences. And when we gather with intention, the collective energy can amplify the impact of our spiritual practices. And as the hive mind evolves, we see this emergence of new spiritual traditions and philosophies, right? It just continues to add to the experience, to the field, this energy field that we all live in, of spiritual exploration that can move past any traditional boundary. And it encourages us to adapt and integrate these diverse teachings into our lives. But ultimately, the connection between the hive mind and spirituality, it invites us to celebrate our interconnectedness while still remaining anchored in our own understanding. And by fostering this mindfulness and presence, we can navigate the complexities of this digital age. We can also enrich our spiritual journeys and maybe, fingers crossed, cultivate a more compassionate world. And as we embrace these ideas, I think it's really important to highlight that we can honor both our unique paths and the collective journey. The nature of presence, especially in the context of our younger generations, because many adolescents and children are navigating this world that is extremely saturated with technology, I often wonder, what are they numbing themselves from? Or are they numbing themselves from something? Because despite being plugged in, this generation seems more attuned to their emotions than ever. They're engaging in healing work that may not just be personal, but also ancestral. They're addressing wounds that have been passed down through generations. And, our children are the greatest mirrors for ourselves to do our work. If you're getting activated by your child, take a look at yourself. And I think that it's really fascinating just to think about how there's this cultural shift and how it's impacted our emotional expression. Because in the past, many of us were taught to suppress our feelings or to push through rather than process, or no one taught you how to express your emotions. Maybe they were never even talked about. But this new generation, they're really breaking that cycle. They're redefining what it means to be present and vulnerable. And if we look at this evolution, we can ask ourselves, is it our DNA and our emotional landscapes that changed? Or are we witnessing some sort of collective healing that honors the struggles of our ancestors? And I think this brings to mind the wisdom from various indigenous cultures, because where healing is often seen as communal. You know what I mean? Because here in America, we are highly focused on the individual. But healers in these traditions understand the interconnectedness of all beings and the importance of honoring lineage. Their practices remind us that healing isn't just the individual journey. No, it's a collective one. And by embracing presence we not only engage with our own emotions, but we're also acknowledging the larger narrative of healing in our families and our communities. And I think that this is where presence transforms into a powerful act of connection, because it bridges generations and it fosters understanding. But what does this mean for us? I keep sitting with that, right? I have these ideas, but what does this mean for us? And I think that it means that recognizing being present isn't just about mindfulness. It's about honoring the emotional labor of those who came before us and those who will come after us. It's about creating space for authentic expression and vulnerability. And as we navigate whatever this landscape is, continuing to come back to the idea of celebrating our progress, because we are not striving for perfection. We are acknowledging each step we take. These kids today are paving the way for a more emotive and connected future, where they can continue to honor both their experiences and the legacies of their ancestors. The legacies that the ancestors were not necessarily thinking that they were passing on. I think it's in this journey of presence that we have the opportunity to learn from each other, maybe through open dialogue and, well, my favorite, embracing our emotions. And while we're talking about teenagers, because that's what's coming to mind for me, and how they navigate the intersection of technology and the hive mind. Yes, it's true that adolescence has always been a time for seeking independence and identity. That's just human development. But this generation, they face something a little bit different, because unlike previous generations, today's youth are growing up in a world where connectivity is constant in a different way. They have access to a vast array of ideas, influences, trends, everything right there on their fingertips. And I guess, we do too, but our brains are at different spaces. And something that can both empower and overwhelm them is having so much information right there, because their brains get overwhelmed more easily than ours. And while they seek to assert their individuality, I think many adolescents are also deeply influenced by the collective narratives that are present in social media and on online platforms. And I think that this creates a sense of urgency to conform to the trends, which can really complicate their journey towards authentic self-expression, which I think is what they're trying to get at. However, this generation also shows remarkable emotional awareness. They often engage in discussions about mental health and healing. They're breaking down stigmas that older generations may have faced. Maybe they were too scared to say. It's as if they're not only working through their own experiences, but again, addressing the emotional baggage of those who came before them. The hive mind plays a significant role here for them too. The rapid spread of ideas that allows them to connect with their peers who share similar struggles, which can offer a sense of community, yeah. Yet this collective consciousness can also blur the lines between personal beliefs and those shaped by external influences. Which I get, I've experienced that in my generation when I was a teenager, but it wasn't as overwhelming. It's not all in your face. It's not all through the globe. It's more central, more localized, more tangible, easier to digest. Doesn't rock me from my core, at least not to this extent that some kids experience now. And I think that that's why it's important to acknowledge that while technology offers new ways to connect, it can sometimes lead to feelings of isolation or pressure. And this generation, they have to find this balance between leveraging technology for support and nurturing their individuality apart from the collective narrative. In exploring the role of teens in this evolution, I think it's important that we figure out a way to support them as they navigate these complexities of identity formation, right? While still reshaping the narrative of healing and presence for future generations. They're not just passive recipients of a collective wisdom. They are actively contributing to a more nuanced understanding of emotional health. And as we reflect on the interconnectedness of our experiences, it's essential to create space for ourselves amidst the noise. Practicing presence allows us to connect more deeply with our emotions and the collective wisdom around us. And it's in this spirit that we can take a moment to ground ourselves and cultivate a sense of safety. If you need to pause before we jump into today's somatic practice, this might be a nice spot. Or maybe you need a moment to reflect and you want to take out your journal and kind of sit with these ideas. What's resonating with you? And then jump back in. Today's somatic practice is called the safe place. The hope is that this will help cultivate a sense of safety and presence, or a safe enough experience. I invite you to begin by finding a comfortable position, whether that's sitting or lying down. Allow your body to settle into the surface beneath you. And gently tuning into your breathing. Noticing the rise and fall of your chest as you inhale and exhale. With each breath, feel your body becoming more relaxed. I invite you to envision a place where you feel completely safe and at ease. This might be a beach, a forest, a cozy room, any space that brings you comfort. And as you visualize this safe place, begin to engage your senses. What do you see around you? Focus on the shapes and colors, the light in this space. What sounds do you hear? Allow these sounds to envelop you. Are there any smells present? Tune in to the textures that you might feel. Allowing this feeling to wash over you in this place of yours. You can fully relax and be present. And if you feel comfortable, I invite you to silently repeat to yourself, I am safe. And take a moment now to explore this space a little bit more. What else do you notice here? And when you feel ready, gently allow yourself to bring your awareness back to your breath. Once again, noticing the rise and fall of your chest. Slowly start to bring your awareness back into the present moment, back into your physical form, deepening your breathing, wiggling your fingers, your toes, feeling the sensations in your body. And when you're ready, gently opening your eyes or lifting your gaze, returning fully to the here and now. As we come to the end of today's session, I'd like to invite you to take a moment to reflect on what we've explored today. Because we've been navigating through a lot of different concepts about presence and healing, and just really recognizing how these themes can intertwine in our lives. And so I always invite you, if you want to, go back to your journal and jot down some thoughts or draw a picture or just allow yourself to process. What does this mean for you? What does this feel like for you? We talked about how today's teens are, they're navigating these really intense emotions in such a technological driven world, where they're still seeking independence and trying to figure out their identity. But they're also engaging in a collective healing process that honors their own experiences as well as our previous generations. Maybe some of these kids are doing your work for you. And by embracing presence, we're empowering ourselves and them to discern our thoughts and feelings amidst the noise of the hive mind. And this practice allows us to tap into our authentic selves while we're still cultivating these deeper connections with others. I do really want to stress, though, the hive mind can be a source of wisdom and support because it's about finding that balance, leveraging the collective energy while nurturing our individuality. And as you move through this week, I encourage you to continue to carry these insights with you, continue to sit with them and pull them out and, see how they transmute. I also invite you to take time to practice presence, whether that's through mindfulness or just simply by engaging fully with your surroundings. It is simple. You don't have to make it harder than it is. Too many things in life are hard. This can be simple. And if you ever feel overwhelmed, you can also practice the safe place, that grounding work that we envisioned today. It's always there for you. A sanctuary where you can return to find comfort and peace because it lives within you. And you're never alone because that sanctuary is there. I give great thanks for being present with you today in this exploration of presence, healing, connection. But I really do hope that today's session inspires you to embrace your journey and the journeys of those around you. I invite you to share this with a friend who needs to be inspired. And don't forget to like and subscribe so that you never miss a session here at the Sanctuary. Until next time, may you find peace, connection, and authenticity in every moment that you experience. Remembering that our bodies have this innate wisdom, the beautiful ability to heal itself. And we heal best in community. Love and light. Peace, y'all. While this podcast may feel like a therapeutic conversation, it is important to note that it is not a substitute for professional therapy or mental health. The information shared here is intended solely for educational purposes and should not be used as a replacement for personalized mental health care. Although I am a therapist, I'm not acting as your therapist in this setting. If you are in need of support, please reach out to a qualified mental health professional.